all. This is the meeting of the Pension Fund Committee, and the first item on the agenda would be apologies for absent. Have we got any apologies?
Yeah, I've got apologies from councillors Patience Bentu, Michael Locke, Jeff Jones and Philip Rogers.
Thank you, Hugh. The next item is item 2, which is disclosures of personal or prejudicial interest. I personally are a member. I'm receiving a pension from the local government pension scheme. If anybody else wants to declare.
Yeah, member of the fund, Chair, Councillor Will Thomas. Yeah.
Sam, please.
I'm also a member of the pension fund.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry, it's the same for the officers as well, Mike. So I think I declare an interest myself.
Caroline.
I'm a member of the LGPS.
Same here, Chairman. I'm a member of the LGPS.
Yeah.
I'm a member of the LGPS. Thank you.
What would you?
Yeah, same for me. I'm a member of the LGPS.
Thank you, Hugh. Right, moving on to the minutes of the last meeting. So that's on page 1 to 5. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. And page 5. Oh,
Yeah, move, Chair.
Thank you. Right, so we'll move on now to the ISA 260 report. Reports from Audit Wales, and I believe Gillian Gillette is online with Leanne Mall. Thank you, Gillian.
Thank you, Chair. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Okay. Thank you. So this is our audit of accounts report, which summarises the main findings from our audit of your 24-25 financial statements. So we've carried out the audit in accordance with auditing standards, which prescribe how we must undertake an external audit of a set of accounts, and also in accordance with the audit plan, which the committee received in June 25. So external audit can never give absolute assurance the accounts are accurate. So we do use an industry standard concept of materiality, and the figure for the pension fund this year was 34.8 million. So we've completed our audit work, but there are some matters that we are required to report to you before you approve the financial statements. So there were no material uncorrected misstatements in the accounts. There were a small number of minor misstatements in the draft accounts, which have been corrected in this final version and had no impact on the net expenditure or net assets of the pension fund. And there are no other issues that we need to bring to your attention. So this is a positive report, and the Auditor General intends to issue an unqualified opinion later this afternoon once we've received the letter of representation, which is set out in Appendix 3. And then the proposed audit opinion is set out in Appendix 2, and that reflects well on the team and the council. We'd just like to extend our thanks to the finance team for their help and support in providing us with the audit evidence we've needed throughout the audit process. And as I said, this is a positive report, and we're happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Gillian. Are there any questions for Gillian Gillette?
Well, no questions, Chair, but it's always nice to have favourable reports, and especially from the auditor, which is even more accepting. Thank you, Chair.
Completely agree, and thank you, Gillette, for your kind words to our officers, because they have worked extremely hard this year. So, without further ado, that report was. Sorry, Jeff.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to reciprocate those thanks and acknowledge the work of Gillian and Leanne and their colleagues. Obviously, we've built and developed this relationship over a number of years, and obviously the efficiency and execution of the audit as reflects that long-standing relationship and experience built up over that time, and that's much appreciated. And again, I want to reflect the hard work of my colleague, Mrs. Karen Cobb, on my right-hand side here, who led the work on behalf of the pension fund and also her colleagues who aren't present in the finance team, and also the team led by Claire Elliott and Nick Jenkins in the admin section, who also are subject to quite rigorous audit scrutiny as part of this audit inspection. So thanks again, Gillian and Leanne, and your ISA 260 is very welcome and well received. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Gillian. And that was for information only and to note. So with that, we'll move on now to the reports for the 151 officer, and that's over to you, Jeff, I believe, for the breaches report.
Thank you, Chairman. Following the committee's approval of this final statement of accounts, which is also on this agenda, we'll be required then to complete and sign the letters appended to Audit Wales's report. Both yourself and the Director of Finance will be required to sign those letters of representation, and they'll be sent back then to Audit Wales for their completion on their end, and then hopefully that'll signify the successful close down of the 24-25 accounts. Thanks, Chairman. The order on the current agenda, Chairman, is the next item is not the accounts, it's the breaches report. And as you're aware, this is a standing item on the agenda, required by the pensions regulator to report to those charged with governance of the fund any operational breaches arising during the last period, and in time-honoured fashion, the table appended to the report identifies the breaches since last report date. Unfortunately, at last report date, we reported 0 breaches, which was the first at the last committee meeting. However, there have been some breaches this time. And unfortunately, we have had a couple of late contributions from 2 employers, totaling £1,300 for one employer, and that's a small community council, and 1 late payment totaling just over £6,500 from a housing association. So they were approximately 1 month late. And the reasons for one was because of a change in staffing. They weren't familiar with the process for remitting contributions, and the housing association, they missed the payment date because the date, their normal payment date, happened to fall on a Sunday. Happy to take any questions, Chairman. As you're aware, you're used to receiving notification of breaches from these smaller employers who very much rely on manual processes to remit these payments, and as you can see, for the reasons why they're late, you know, it's almost unavoidable in some respects, in that they're not large enough to have the resilience to overcome, you know, situations that have arisen in those circumstances.
Thank you, Jeff. I do hope the officers have written to the people who have breached and explained the situation that they should be paying on time.
As part of the onboarding process, Chairman, as part of their admission agreements, for example, the Housing Association, for example, as part of the admission agreement that they sign up to when they become an employer in the scheme, they have a whole list of obligations, and first and foremost is to remit contributions due before the 19th day of the following month. That is, I think, number 1 or 2 in terms of their obligations as an employer within the scheme. The small community council, they're a scheduled body, and perhaps you're right, Chairman, to make the observation that maybe some collective training for the small community councils, because they are repeat offenders, not the same ones every time, but they as a body of employers do seem to be repeat offenders in this regard. So your suggestion is taken on board, Chairman.
Thank you for that confirmation. Any questions? Yes, Will.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just wondering. Obviously, I know the small community council is not really a problem for our cash flow, however you call it, because it's such small amounts of money. But I'm just wondering if they are consistently late and long-term late. Do we charge them a late payment fee? And is that part of the agreement? And the second point really is it's great to see no GDPR breaches, because I know we've had some in the past where people have been posted out the wrong information and stuff. So there's obviously something you're doing right there that's made sure that doesn't happen. So well done on that, I suppose. And I just interested as to if you've changed any processes or training internally to make sure that didn't happen. Thanks.
Your observation is well made, Councillor Thomas, in that the previous GDPR breach that we brought to committee's attention was very embarrassing for the practitioners in question, and as a result of that, quite comprehensive training session was had with all practitioners in the pension sections about the need for care when forwarding on emails to ensure there are no attachments, identifying individuals, etc., at the bottom of email trails, etc. Because that was the instance that you're referring to in that an admin assistant forwarded on an email without checking what the email thread contained. So yes, it's pleasing to note that we haven't had any breaches since that time, but that's how seriously the section took it, and Claire Elliott, the pensions manager, took on board that breach, and personally, and she onboarded a quite robust training process. So obviously that'll have to be refreshed, because as you see, again on the agenda on the papers, we're looking to bolster the resource in the admin team. So obviously that training needs to be refreshed as new cohorts of staff are onboarded into the section. In respect of penalties for late payments, we do have a policy to impose fines, and we did impose a fine on a small repeat offending community council a number of years ago, to no great effect. It's a resourcing issue in terms of in terms of they tend to be one-man bands. The community clerk is cook, cleaner, bottle washer, payroll manager, etc., etc. So it's understandable that if they're on annual leave, for etc., and they haven't put in contingency arrangements, those contributions may or may not be late. So I do have sympathy. However, at the behest of the committee, due to the repeat offending of this one community, we did impose penalty charges, and it didn't go down well with the community council in question, and they didn't offend as repeatedly as previously. However, I can't attest that it prevented future breaches of this requirement. It was almost a token gesture, really, just to demonstrate that we took it seriously, and wanted to demonstrate that they were in breach of their obligations. It was only a nominal fine.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, Bill.
Yeah, we're lucky that the breaches are small, and so it costs us that much to discuss it now. Yeah, when do they start, the breaches start falling off? Because we've got somewhere like 30 pages here going back to 2022. It must be costing us more than the town council or community council hasn't paid us. So when do they start dropping off, Jeff? Because nobody reads 22 because we've already read them for 3 years.
Sorry, Chairman. That was a request of committee to delete previous. I think at a meeting prior, committee did ask to see the full picture and the evolution, because obviously when we first started reporting the breaches, you know, they were quite frequent in occurrence. However, you know, in the vein of continuous improvement, those numbers dropped off. However, committee members wanted to see the evolution and improvement by having the history of the breaches from prior periods. But I take your point, Councillor Downing, and happy to just report the previous 12 months for your information.
Yeah, I'm happy with that, Chair.
Yeah. So just one thing I want to ask: is there any historical breaches that haven't been
Resolved. Not well. Maybe some minor frozen refunds, for example, whereby we haven't been able to transact and refund the individual because we can't track them down. For example, you know, that is technically a breach, but you know, not for want of trying.
Thank you. No more questions? No. Moving on then to item 6 on the agenda, which is the City and County Pension Fund Annual Report and Statement of Accounts for 24-25. I think this is you, Jeff.
Thank you, Chairman. The committee received this report in draft form at their previous meeting back in June, is it? No, September, sorry. Back in September, where I went through the report in detail and highlighted some key metrics that the report touched upon for the last financial year. And as you've heard from our colleagues at Audit Wales, the subsequent audit by external auditors has delivered a clean audit opinion with only minor misstatements required to be corrected as a result of that audit. So I'm not intending to go through it in detail, but just to reiterate some of the headline metrics, just for your benefit again, or members who weren't at the previous meeting. Obviously, the fund value just shy of 3.5 billion as that balance sheet date. Increase in fund value during the year of 153 million pounds. It's the #1 ranked fund for annualized investment returns for 5 years to 31st of March 2025. And in the report that we received from PERC, who are the administrators of the local government pension scheme investment performance universe, i.e. all the pension funds in the country, we're ranked not lower than 4th place in the 3-year, 10-year and 20-year periods. And if I could just quote their report to you, I'm not allowed to share the screen, but what drove that performance in 24-25? The fund return of 4.6% was well above average and ranked in the upper decile. Better than average equity returns together with strong bond and private equity performance combined to deliver the excellent outcome. In a year where most assets delivered broadly similar returns, asset allocation had less impact than usual. And over the longer term, their commentary indicates the fund has delivered top quartile relative performance over the longer term. And over all shorter term periods, the fund is never ranked lower than 4th percentile and is the best performing fund over the 5-year period and the second best performing fund over the last 3 years. An excellent outcome. So that's from the universe providers PERC, who compile this league table of performance on behalf of the LGPS. Again, on page 67, you can see at the bottom there some metrics about membership, which indicate which the numbers in the statement of accounts confirm that the scheme is maturing. The number of contributors is dropping off, whilst the number of pensioners and deferreds is growing. Obviously, this has an impact on cash flow, and as I mentioned at previous committee, this is reflected in the shift in the investment strategy that Mike and Andre will present to committee in January next year for the update post valuation. Obviously, cash flow and being able to meet those liabilities as they fall due is a priority of the fund, and should be so reflected in the investment strategy of the fund. As I say, just a word of caution, all this, upper quartile, league topping investment performance is largely driven by the asset allocation that the fund has adopted this past 20 years. And I just want to reiterate again to committee that we are in a program of scaling back those growth assets, de-risking in effect, and banking some of those gains that we've made. So just want to manage expectations of committee that you cannot expect these league topping performances and returns going forward as we reduce that risk in the investment portfolio, and that is reflected again in the valuation that the actuary will share with us in its final form. Obviously, members have had the draft at the last meeting, but in its final form in March of next year. Happy to take questions, Chairman.
Any questions for Jeff? I guess Will.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, and I wouldn't, say that we can't top out that league table. There's still gold and Bitcoin, isn't there, Jeff? That would still be good asset allocations with plenty of upside, but for another time maybe. But yeah, in all seriousness, I think just congratulations to all the whole team really, and everyone. It's a fantastic achievement over the last 20 years, really, let alone the last 5 years. And I think it's helped the council's budget no end as well, and it's a really good achievement for the whole team. And also all the ESG stuff. It's not just like we've been looking at returns. There's a lot of work being done on ESG that the team have done, and we're looking at biodiversity and decarbonising. So yeah, I think I don't think anyone could ask for any better. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Will. Jeff.
Thanks, Councillor Thomas, for those kind words. Just further that point, should any elected members of the committee intend to attend the ACM this afternoon, there is a presentation outlining some of those additional non-financial objectives of the fund, Councillor Thomas, which I'll be sharing with the other employers in the scheme. Obviously, the elected members here of the committee have been well briefed on those deliverables and objectives, which are non-financial largely, but the other employers perhaps will benefit from hearing about that this afternoon as well.
Thank you, Jeff. Can I call Phil in, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, we asked technical questions. Well, Will did when you presented this in draft form, and I think I've said it before when I was on this committee when we had black holes, and when it came to setting the rates with the council, that we had to fill that, and the ratepayers in Swansea had to pay for it. But now they benefit from it. And it was remiss of me to say it at the beginning of the meeting, so I'll say it now because Will went back 20 years, is that we've just lost an ex-chairman, I think, in John Newbury, who was chairman, who, when we went to Celtic Manor, parked his car in my house, and I never charged him, I got to say that. Yes, he was a character. I think that's the best way to describe John. Yeah, sadly missed, but there we are. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for those kind words. Moving on, Jeff, do you want to come back? Yes, it's a recommendation, and we have to take a vote on this particular item. So could we do that, please, Hugh?
Okay, so the recommendation is in front of you. For those in favour of it, if you raise your hands. And what with you, Sam? Are you in favour? Sam? I can't see Sam's vote here, so it's a... Councillor Pritchard? Are you for, against, or abstaining on this item? Well, it's 2 votes and no vote cast, but I'm a little bit concerned with the quorum if he's not answering his calls. I must admit. Just, yeah, I know, but if he's not answering. So, Councillor Pritchard? Chris, I suggest we adjourn for 5 minutes. We try and get hold of him.
Yeah. Yes, we'll adjourn for 5 minutes to try and get hold of our colleague, because without him, we're not core it. So 5 minutes break, please.
Apologize, everybody. We're back with a little technical issue there. So, Councillor Pritchard, we're on back to item 6. We're asking if you're for, against, or abstaining on that item.
For.
For. Thank you very much. So that's unanimously carried.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Right, on to the item 7, pension fund administration resourcing, and that's over to you again, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. The committee is well aware and has been well briefed on the ever-growing demands and changing the changing complexity of the scheme as developments arise. Notably, we got the pensions dashboard on the horizon, but also historical items which are still working their way through the system, such as the McLeod remedy and GMP reconciliation, which are still works in progress and still need to be resolved in terms of member records. So the report in front of you identifies and goes into a bit more detail about those challenges facing the pensions admin section. And what this report seeks to do is asking committee to approve some additional resourcing, as identified at paragraph 36 of the report. And you can see, even with the addition of that additional senior pensions officer post, we're still well in line with staffing numbers in comparison to our peers in Wales, in terms of cost per member. So the recommendation is simple, Chairman. Financial implications are identified in paragraph 40. The actual recommendation itself is identified at paragraph 36. I'm happy to take questions as to why it is required.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions? No? Over to you to take a vote then.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So the recommendation there before you on page 221, and asking if you're for, against, or abstaining. So who's for? And Councillor Pritchard, I got 2 for in the room. Are you for, against, or abstaining?
For, please, Hugh.
Oh, that's unanimous for. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There we are. Right, moving on to item 8 then, which is draft funding strategy statement. Again, this is you, Jeff, I believe.
Thank you, Chairman. The actual ask of this report is to ask committee to approve this draft of the funding strategy statement. Pending you approving this draft, it shall be circulated in draft form to all the other employers within the scheme for consultation, and then subject to receipt of any comments or any feedback as a result of that consultation. The draft will be amended, and then the final version of this will be brought back before committee if required, because it might not need amending post consultation, but if required, it'll be brought back to this committee in the extraordinary meeting that's been called in January. So what is a draft funding strategy statement? Well, it's one of the key governance documents required as per the regulations, alongside the investment strategy statement, the administration strategy. This is one of the key documents that the fund is required to produce. And what are the objectives of the funding strategy statement? And it's to provide a clear and transparent plan for meeting employer pension liabilities to support the stability of employer contribution rates. And I am reading this from the report itself. And to ensure that the fund's solvency and long-term cost efficiency. The statement aims to balance potentially conflicting goals such as affordability, transparency, contribution stability, and prudence in funding decisions. So basically, it's a clear document setting out how the admin authority will deal with arising situations that may or may not occur in respect of dealing with employer issues in respect to their contribution rates. This is primarily, you can think of it as a document outlining how the fund deals with its liabilities, whereas the ISS, or investment strategy statement, which Andre and Mike and myself will finalise and bring to you in January or March next year, focuses and outlines how the fund deals with its asset side of the business. The funding strategy statement largely focuses on the liability side of the business, how it manages those. And you can see the key objectives of an LGPS FSS. The guidance which the government produces, which provides the framework for us to produce an FSS, was amended recently, and I can confirm that this new FSS has been compiled in compliance with that new guidance. It is quite a hefty document, and as I say, it is out for consultation with employers. But for example, if I could draw your attention to quite a pertinent and topical update in respect of the FSS, and that's how we deal with employer exits. Should an employer have a surplus? Obviously, lots of employers now have a notional and a paper surplus as per the valuation, but no cash will change hands in effect of that surplus. Is a paper surplus. It exists on paper. However, should an employer want to or need to exit the scheme, potentially that could trigger an exit payment of that surplus. However, the FSS outlines situations and mitigates that event occurring and identifies very clear situations when that will occur. So it's to manage the risks in favour of the administering authority and the ongoing solvency of the fund as a whole, as opposed to prioritising the employer itself. So it's primarily structured to safeguard the ongoing viability of the fund, and it's a situation which faces lots of our colleagues in England because of the academy situation in England. Lots of the academies are admitted bodies within schemes. Now they see, after years of deficit, they think, oh gosh, goodness me, it's an expensive benefit to be giving our staff. Let's get out of the scheme now where we're in surplus and also bank some gains as a result of that membership and exiting with cash in their pockets. So it's to mitigate situations like that, that we've clearly set out how we'll deal with situations like that if they arise within the fund here. Happy to take. I don't know if Mike or Andre. I know they're primarily investment focused, but they may have market intelligence from their actuarial colleagues about the emerging risks of exiting employers in England. But obviously, the positive funding position that many funds find themselves in does trigger conversations of employer exits whilst they can.
I'd have to take that away, Jeff, and ask some colleagues about it. It's not something that I'm up to speed with at the moment, I'm afraid. Andre, I don't know whether you've heard on that.
No, I think the summary is certainly that we're seeing improved funding positions throughout. And those, as you say, Jeff, those are likely to drive some of these conversations. Would only have anecdotal evidence, but certainly our actuarial colleagues, I suspect, will have a better view of the broader markets, so we can take that one away and come back with some thoughts.
Thank you both. Yes, it is a bit of a worry, but I think that the safeguarding dialogue within this resourcing will address those problems in the future. So, any questions? Oh, Will?
Yeah, just one very brief question. Is this unique to Swansea, or are other funds, certainly Wales, looking at exactly the same document? Thanks.
It's one of the three key legally required documents that funds required to produce, Councillor Thomas. And yes, everyone normally updates this document every 3 years in line with the valuation. The valuation largely dictates how you set contribution rates, how you manage that relationship with your employers, and traditionally the FSS, as it's known by its acronym, is updated and reviewed in line with the triennial valuation process. So that's why you only get to really have an opportunity to kick it about every 3 years. Because normally, that's the only time really where it triggers a change, because of that affords a discussion about the relationship with your employers. Because once you lock in the contribution rate and it's certified, and unless you commission an intra valuation, you can't change it.
Thank you. Yeah. Have you finished, Jeff? Yeah, okay.
Okay, again, if you're for, against or abstaining, so in the room, are you for?
I'm for.
2 for, and Councillor Pritchard online.
For.
There was unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Hugh. Right, we move on to exclusion of the public. So could I have a vote on excluding the public, please?
And Councillor Pritchard, you for, against?
For.
There you are. That's what
Thank you,
excluding the
Sam.
public. Let's just stop the recordings. Give us a moment.
Okay.